Yes, guys. Hope you are all good. I'm vested up. I'm in the loft. It's very, very, very hot up in Manchester. So I'm just trying to cool off. I've got the window open, so if there's any noise that comes in, I do apologise about it. But I wanted to get a video out today, talking around the quote that I put into the group with the paragraph as well, which I'm going to read out. So this is basically a book that I got given to myself called The Inside Track by a guy called Pete Sage. Now, basically, this chap, he's an entrepreneur. He's kind of like self-development and personal development based. There's some powerful things within the book, but the book itself, he actually got sent to prison, sent to jail for something that went wrong within his business. He doesn't go too much into depth to, but he does kind of try to justify himself as he goes through the book. I think he does it quite. I don't think he needs to do it as much as he does, but you can tell there's something in there that he feels he needs to kind of justify. But as you read through, you obviously tell that there's a company that wasn't happy with something that happened. He also shows the amount of politics that went into it through the companies. And the end result was that he wasn't, I need to get my head around this, but he wasn't convicted, but he was still sent to prison. So he's come out of a jail sentence without any convictions, nothing like that. So he had to go in as, I think it's called a civil prisoner. So I don't know the ins and outs of that. I am going to actually listen to a podcast that he's been on since being in to understand a little bit more around that. But what I found so powerful about the book was that he took the approach of this, okay, which is phenomenal, really. It's phenomenal, and it's where I hope I can take my powers of mindset. Not that I'm going to go to jail or prison, but to win any scenario. And what he's done, he's thought, right, okay, so I'm potentially going to be getting sent down here to prison or to jail. In his eyes, he hadn't committed a crime, and it wasn't a dangerous or violent attack, or it was literally something to do with the business side of things, some money side of things. So he had to reframe quickly the thought of going to prison, and how he reframed it was, right, okay, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go in and help people's lives. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go into jail, go into prison, and make a massive positive impact on as many people's lives as possible by utilizing mindset, self-development, and personal development, and try to make an impact on people's lives, on prisoners' lives. And that's like massively powerful on its own. That's how he reframed going in there. Reframed it like, this has been dropped on me for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I'm being put in there for a reason. What is that reason? It's to make a positive impact. So that completely reframed his mindset. So we went in there excited and motivated. Imagine that, going to prison excited and motivated, and being able to. And he had a tough time. He was one of the most dangerous prisons in the UK. With the most dangerous criminals, but he went in with that attitude and with that mindset. So the book talks about his experiences through it. He's kind of broken it down really well. He's giving some examples of the people he met, the people he shared cells with the things that he tried to do within it. He also explains how he was treated and the things that were wrong with the kind of the prison system itself. So it was a really interesting book and a really insightful book in many, many ways. But as I always do, so I've read the book, and as I go through, I underline things, I circle things, I fold pages, as you can see. So then what I do once I've read the book fully, I'll go back to the start and I'll start to speed read. But when I come to a page that I folded over, I know I folded it for a reason. So I go to the point of impact for myself, and then I see what I can take from that to either apply to myself, so apply to some of the principles and methods I'm developing and teaching and coaching, and just how I can take that information and utilize it. And that kind of leads into this scenario a little bit. But I wanted to express that there's so many, and I've been in this situation. I've read a lot of books, like my bookshelf's full down here. I've got a load next to my bed and around the house. And some books have been really amazing to read and really impactful with some great stuff, but it's never been applied. I've never utilized it. I've never kind of driven it out there, because also you can read a book and then very quickly forget a lot of the information that you've read. And whilst you're reading, it's like, this is unbelievable. If I use this is the fucking best information I've ever read. I can really use this to transform my life or put it into something to help transform someone else's life. But then you finish reading the book or the page, and then you crack on with your day, other things happen, and you forget about what you've read. And that's what I was trying to say, like, try to capitalize on everything you can and put it into action as soon as possible, basically. So, and that's what I try to do. So that's one of my techniques while I'm reading. I'm a big believer in reading as well. I do listen to some audio stuff. I was listening to an audio one this morning, a bit of an audio course. But for books especially, I fully read it, mark it, fold pages. Once I finish, to go back and go to the meat bits that I found, and then understand how I can start to apply this in my own life. But also how I can apply it with clients or within the kind of like the B1 method and philosophies. So this was something that really stood out, and is why I dropped it in the group. And there's loads of other things as well that I can drop into the group. But I wanted to kind of touch base on this one. So I'm going to actually read it out, and then I'll talk through the power of it, guys. And the reason I feel this is so powerful is because it touches on, again, what I've just talked about there. Like, I must have read in the last 7 to 8 years, I must have read hundreds of books, if not going into the thousands of books. I truly have. I've really developed a great skill of reading, where I can just literally just speed read through books. And when I say speed read, it's an actual quality technique where you're still embedding the information and taking in the information. It's not a case if you get into the end of the page and you've forgotten what you've read. It's just the ability to read at a faster pace and still take in the information. And I actually learned that technique out of a book, and then I was able to implement it and put it into place. But this kind of all falls back into what I'm going to talk through now. So Peter basically talks about like what are graduation events. So he calls it a graduation event, and I'm going to touch on. I'm going to read it out, and then I'm going to dig back into it. So the paragraph was, what are graduation events? They are scenarios and bends in the river of life that appear throughout our journey, and mostly come wrapped in an outer layer of adversity. They serve several functions, but the two most predominant ones are key. The first is to present us with an opportunity to grow, to learn something we need to learn, or to hear a message we've been ignoring. The second function is to test if we can demonstrate something rather than just know it, which is key. That's because there is a world of difference between intellectually understanding something and having it actually show up as who you are, your identity, particularly under stressful situations. Again, that's leading into the best version of yourself. Graduation events are designed to test this, and also to remind us of the number one rule of personal development, the inescapable law that separates those who talk from those who do. And then this put, and that, my friends, is this. And this is the quote, the main quote that I put, which is, theory does not cover the price of admission to higher levels of growth or conscious awareness. And that's powerful. So I'm going to break all of this down now a little bit further. So basically what he's talking about with graduation events is exactly what he's gone into here. He's gone into a situation or a circumstance that's really going to test him. He's going to put him under a massive stress. He's going into prison. He's going into jail. So he's going into an event that's going to put him under stress. Can he utilize all the methods and the knowledge that he's got within this environment, within this graduation event? And if he can, he's graduated. And that's why it's a graduation event. Can you express? Can you be this person? Can you show this knowledge? Can you show these characteristics, these traits, all of these things that he's built himself to be? Can he show this right now in this event? And if he can, he's graduated. And that's why he calls it a graduation event. Now, when he's put, they are scenarios and bends in the river of life that appear throughout our journey and mostly come wrapped in an outer layer of adversity. He talked about the river of life and the fact that through the river, if you fight against that current, if you fight against the way it's kind of bending round corners and going through pebbles and under trees, and you're trying to dodge and swerve and grab onto things that break, you're fighting against a losing battle. He said, instead, life is taking you the way you are meant to go. So instead of trying to fight against it, go with the flow of the river. And anything that you come up against, it's there for a reason. So you need to deal with that the way the best version of yourself will deal with that, with the knowledge you've got. And even if you don't have the knowledge yet, by facing up to that experience, you grow as an individual. You learn from that experience, whether it's a failure or just something that happens that you can learn from, that you can actually think, right, okay, so this didn't go right. This really affected me. The next time it happens, this is how I need to act. This is how I need to think. This is how I need to behave. This is how I need to feel. And again, that goes back again to the review of the day. All of this work really does intertwine. So he's talking about, whenever he says the river of life in this book, he's talking about just going with the flow of life. Things happen. Don't fight against it. It's there for a reason. How do you act in that scenario? How do you think in that scenario? Then he's put, they serve several functions, but the two most predominant ones are key. The first is to present us with the opportunity to grow. And that's what I'm talking about there. If you go into a situation that's tough, that tests you, that is adversity, okay, and you look at it as, this is an opportunity for me to grow as a person, to go into this and act the way I want to act, to think the way I want to think, to be in control of it, to demonstrate the things that I've learned, especially for myself, or the mindset work, the self-development. When I go into situations, can I show everything that I've got? Even when I face adversity in my own life, can I show myself how much I am in control of my mind, my emotions, and my actions in these scenarios? And in the past few weeks, I've been able to demonstrate that. And that's my opportunity to grow. Instead of pulling back, instead of hiding, instead of being fearful and not taking the correct action or learning from it, I've not grown. But by doing that, I am growing. And that's the point he's trying to make there. He's presenting yourself with, anytime you hit adversity, anytime you hit a barrier or hit a failure, it's giving you the opportunity to grow. Or do you want to grow? Is the question there. And then he goes on, to learn something, we need to learn exactly that. Anything you're going into that's adversity, that creates a barrier, that's hard, that creates negative thoughts, it creates negative feelings, is helping us learn something about ourselves, what's affecting us, and then how can we deal with that? Giving you the opportunity to learn new knowledge, to develop yourself, to be a better person for yourself, a better person for you, to live your life in a better way. So it all comes down to yourself again. Or hear a message we've been ignoring. And again, how many people ignore so many things that are going on in their life? They can see it, they know it's going on, but they just ignore it because they want to kind of push those feelings and those thoughts away. Like, I'll deal with it another time, but it doesn't go away. It just builds up and creates this anxiety feeling. So anxiety is a buildup of negative emotions, of worry, of stress. They all build up, these little things that you're putting away, putting to the side. I'll do it another time. I'll deal with him another time. I'll do X, Y, Z. And slowly but surely that builds your anxiety up. That builds your worry and your stress levels up. And that's when you kind of get this overwhelm. And then that creates a fucking negative pattern on your whole life. So sometimes these messages, you need to hear them, you need to be aware of them, and you need to confront them. And then he's put, the second function is to test if we can demonstrate something rather than just know it. And that falls into the last quote, so I'm going to go into that in a second. That's because there is a world of difference between being intellectually understanding something and have it actually show up as who you are, is your identity. So I understand this information I've just read and learned, and I want to apply it. So if you apply it and show it, it becomes part of who you are, part of your identity. If you don't apply it, it's just information you've read that you think is good and would really serve and help you, but you don't apply it. So it's not part of your identity. It's not part of who you are. You've read it, but if you aren't showing it, it's not part of who you are, part of your identity. And again, this is why this was so powerful for me when I read it, because it goes with everything and my philosophy. Don't just read and learn something, be that, act it. If it's that powerful, if it makes that much of a transition within your thought processes when you read it, it's going to make that much of a powerful transformation when you act it and you drive it out there. And then he's put particularly under stress, or particularly in the stressful situations, which is where most people experience fear, and the fear will stop them from acting the way they should act, from thinking the way they should think, by speaking the way they should speak. So under stressful situations especially, can you adhere to everything within this realm of what we're talking about here? And then he's put, graduation events are designed to test this, and also to remind us of the number one rule of personal development, the inescapable law that separates those who talk from those who do. And that, my friends, is this. And then it's the last quote, but I'm just going to touch back onto that one very quickly. That's a big thing for myself, and why I try to show my journey as much as I do on social media, and especially within this group. I try to show my journey so much so I can prove, like, I don't just talk. I try to walk. I try to implement everything that I read. I did the 7-day power up at the same time as you guys, and I'm continuing to do that. I've got another word that I'm working on at the minute with the book that I've just read, and I'm implementing this within my life. I showed you some of the intentions and actions that I've already implemented last week and this week, and there's more that I've put in. They were just powerful enough that I wanted to share with you. So it's the people, the who do, and I'm a person who does. And I've got to do that, not just to lead people, but to show myself that I am who I am saying I am to be or wanting to be. I'm not just thinking I want to be this. I'm showing myself on a daily basis. This is who I am. I am the type of person who reads, but I'm also the type of person who reads, makes notes, folds pages, goes back to that book, and then tries to implement what he's learned into his life and other people's lives to make a positive change. I am the type of person who gets up at 3 a.m. to go and watch that sunrise because I want to feel good. I want to experience the world and what's around us and be blessed. Theory does not cover the price of admission to the higher levels of growth or conscious awareness. And all that means, in a nutshell, is you can be the most intellectual person in the world with all the knowledge. But unless you apply that knowledge, it doesn't mean anything, because you are still letting emotions potentially control you. If you have all of this knowledge, you've read books, you've listened to stuff, you found these new principles, techniques, new information, but you don't do anything with it, doesn't need to be an action. It could be just something that you need to mentally kind of function within yourself. Could be a technique you learn and read about it. All it takes is to process something in your mind differently, but you still don't apply it. You still don't do it. So it's information you've read that you know will be good, but you don't apply it in whatever sense that is. And that, guys, is exactly what this is talking about. You can have all the information. You can be as intellectual as you can be. But if you don't show it, especially in graduation events, and again, that is an event that's stressful, an event of adversity, something that's really testing you. And you can still show this character, this identity, this person who you are. That, guys, is the graduation event. And are you graduating? Can you say to yourself right now, everything that I'm learning, everything that I've learned over the past year, but hopefully anything you've learned through this group or through myself, have you been able to apply it? And not only have you been able to apply it, but have you been able to apply it on a day that you're not having a good day? Have you been able to apply it when something's tested you? Okay. And if you haven't, this is what this is talking about, because there's no, and again, this is something else. I've read in another book in a minute. There's another one that I've got called, I think I brought this up the other day. So there's two, and I'm actually bouncing between the two of them, written by the same guy. One's called Turning Pro, one's called Do the Work. And I've got the ability with these two to actually bounce between the two of them. I think they're both just as impactful. I've read them before. They were good. And I folded pages, I've made notes, but they just didn't resonate. I think they're resonating more with me at this minute in time, phenomenally enough. And that's what I'm a big believer of. Books will, and audio clips and everything has a certain point where it will make more of an impact within your life. So I'm going back through these. And again, where I was going with that, I've just lost my train of thought. But it's implementing the stuff that I'm reading now within everything that I'm doing, and especially kind of Do the Work talks about resistance and what inner resistance is, that everyone experiences, but it's down to yourself to take control of that and put it into place. So again, I'm still continuing to learn and research, but I've got to action it. Action it does two things. Again, we're talking about building that identity, and there's, funnily enough, and again, I talk about the adapt and evolve method, which I don't know if that's out there, but if it's not, I'm taking it, because I voice noted my man Ollie and talked about this philosophy I'd thought about, which is called the adapt and the evolve method, which is, instead of looking for that finished product, you want to have this journey of adapting and evolving as you go. Something doesn't quite work, but that's good, because you understand, right, well, this didn't work. Why didn't it work? How can I improve it? So with everything that I'm working on, especially, the adapt and evolve method is better. It's better than me saying, right, I've got this finished product, which is perfect, and it's going to help change your life. But then there's 20 different people that try it. They've all got different issues. So for me, adapt and evolve is understanding, right, okay, well, how can I adapt this method, this technique, this tool, so that anyone that comes into it, whether they've got a slightly different issue or something they're working towards or trying to change, can still utilize this tool to be as powerful as it needs to be. So I go in with that adapt and evolve method, and I'm a very honest and open person enough to try and take the feedback to understand it. But again, I work on myself. So I work the method on myself. So at least I can give the person feedback and an example of how it's impacted my life or how I've implemented it to hopefully achieve success. Or if I have failed it, I'll express how I failed, but then what I did to capitalize on that. And that's a major thing. And I think the adversity one's a big one as well. So like adversity could be for yourself, just days where you are feeling down and negative. And you've been shown ways to transition your emotional states, to transition your mental states. But are you actioning some of these tools and techniques to really transition your state? We've talked about the power of breath work, the power of cold water therapy to change your biochemistry. Kev talks about it when he came on and did the live. So if you wake up a little bit down, a little bit depressed, a little bit kind of lost, by doing one of those methods, by shocking the body, by changing the biochemistry, you will automatically start to feel better. You'll start to feel better. You'll start to think better. That's when you can jump in with some positive affirmations because you're in a better place. You're feeling better. The emotion will attune, the feeling and the thought. So all of these things start to really kind of combine. So in times where you are under stress, things aren't going right for you, you are having a bad week, you are having a week you're not feeling at your best, can you pass your graduation event by still implementing all of the actions that you wanted to action? Can you still implement all of the maybe new techniques and tools that you've learned? If you are doing a course, if you are reading a book, if you listen to an audio and you hear something good, can you not just apply it straight away into your life, but can you continue to apply it even when you have bad days or face adversity, face situations that put you under stress? You're around certain people that you struggle to deal with, but can you be the bigger person and apply something that still keeps you the person you want to be? So you come away from that situation happy with yourself, happy with who you are, your identity. Your identity encapsulates all of this. It's who you are and what you show. And again, as I talked about before, just because you've read and learned something, it's not a part of your identity until you action what you've read and learned. Then it becomes part of your identity. You might say, I'm a reader because I've read the book. Fair enough. 100% you're a reader and that's part of your identity. But have you actioned anything that you read in that book that made sense and you thought would be powerful? No. Right, okay. So, yep, you're a reader because you've read the book. But maybe you're a procrastinator because you haven't actioned what you thought was going to be really good, but something stopped you from doing that. And then what has stopped you from doing that is the fear. Has the fear come up? Is it the fear of being judged? Is it the fear of actually having to do it and having to step outside of your comfort zone? And that's a big one as well, stepping outside of that comfort zone that so many people would prefer to stay in. And that's the scary thing, guys, which is so many people are unhappy in their comfort zone, but they prefer to stay within that unhappiness because they know it's a known fear. It's a known fear. I'm going to wake up tomorrow feeling anxious, feeling down, feeling nervous, but I know it. So I'm going to stay within it and just make sure I'm in the perimeter where I've still got those feelings, but they don't enhance, because I'm not going to go out there in case it gets worse. I'm not going to go there because it could get worse. I'm not going to listen to this in case it gets worse. You're in a comfort zone, but still feeling negativity within that comfort zone. Stepping outside of that is where that courage comes into place, but utilizing, and this is what this is saying, like research, learn, network with people, understand different methods, different information, different tools, but then can you apply it? Can you put it into work? And I put so many posts out about this on social, which is it comes down to yourself. Yes, there are people that can help you. There are people that can coach you. There are people that can show you the way, show you different tools and techniques, help you discover who you want to be and help you mold that, which is, again, something that I do as a coach. But after that, when I'm not there or when the coach isn't there, are you still accountable to be that person, to put it all into place? And if you're not, why not? And then as soon as you answer that question, you are telling yourself your identity. So when you answer that question of why not, like why can't you continue to do this when you haven't got a coach around you? The answer to that question starts to whatever comes out of your mouth is the belief you have about yourself. And if you think it and can't express it verbally, but you think in your head, this is why I didn't do it. Again, that's your belief. As soon as you think it, write it down, because what you've written down is your belief that you have about yourself. And that's the truth, man. And this is why, on a one-to-one level, when I coach people, I can go so much more in depth, because when they say something, I can literally pinpoint it and say, this is the belief you've just said this. Like, why do you believe this about yourself? And then we can start to break that down. Again, when I don't work with someone at one level and I put the video out or the post out, it's then down to that person to use these tools and techniques in a journal, or we're trying to create some interactive PDFs that will be good for people to use as well. So again, that adapt and evolve method, I'm adapting and evolving as I go. I appreciate a journal isn't the best for everyone. Some people do prefer to be on the phone. Some people prefer to be on the Macs and be able to edit in. So it's what works for the person, but they've got to be prepared to put that work in and do it. But to pull it back to this, guys, it's so powerful, and it's powerful to me. This was a reminder to me as well. Like, all of the theory that I'm learning, not just on mindset and self-development, but also on business and in building the business and understanding how to create the correct content and putting the content out in the correct way and delivering my message and my methodology, my philosophy and everything that I'm structuring and creating. Like, if I'm learning something about it, how am I applying it? And am I applying it when I do feel fear and I am having a bad day and I know I need to post and I know I need to do something or get something out there? I've got to face up to my graduation event. I want to pass it. I want to finish that day thinking, man, yeah, you did get tested then, but you stayed true to yourself. But to do that, that is why this task that I've put out there, and I'm still, there's more to come from this task, and I'm working into it. I'm actually creating it into a course, the best version of yourself. I want to be one of the first coaches, because I don't think this has been done before. I want to be one of the first coaches to help someone create the best version of themselves, but powerfully enough to be able to say it to themselves in a proud way, not in a way of like, shit, I feel a bit weird saying this to myself. I want to say it in myself. And the transition there is, if you believe in the power of the exercise, you will say it to yourself in a powerful way. So it's, again, my job there is to transition your belief into how powerful the exercise is, how powerful it is to know the best version of yourself. And I'm going to do another video on this, so I don't want to take away from what I'm talking about in the book, but I will drop this one point in. The best version of yourself can be in so many different dynamics, it's untrue. And that's why adapting and evolving with that as well is like, whatever situation you are in, you might ask yourself a different question, right? This situation requires confidence. What is Ben when he's confident? How would I act in this situation? It might have nothing to do with being passionate and driven in this scenario. It might be more, this needs confidence and courage. So who is Ben when he's confident and courageous? Well, Ben is going to do this in this situation. Then there might be another one, which is, right, you need motivation and passion for this one. You're going to be up till 11:30 at night and you're up at 3 a.m. You need your energy high. What's going to get the energy high? Well, remembering what your passion and your motivation is in life. It's about mindset, personal development, self-development, helping people positively. As soon as I say that, I'm picking myself up and I'm energized. So the call I had last night, which was 2 hours after a hell of a long day, I was buzzing with energy. So it's reframing the best version of yourself in different scenarios and always asking yourself, who is the best version of Ben in this situation? Right, I've now got to go and face up to something that's happened. Who's the best version of Ben in this scenario? Or again, you can relate it to a goal, a specific kind of like advancement in a sport or in health and fitness. Like in my body shape, if I'm zoning in, all right, I'm trying to get my body shape to a certain percent body fat, I'd be like, in this decision of what to eat, in this decision of do I go out, in this decision of do I prep all my meals, what's the best version of Ben for his goal? Well, the best version of Ben for his goal is, yeah, he's going to pick the option that has X amount of calories. Yes, he's going to prep all his meals the night before. Yes, he's going to choose not to go out because he appreciates it's going to be drink involved and some shit food that he doesn't want to eat. And he doesn't want that right now because he's chasing a certain percent body fat. So it's applying the best version of yourself into different scenarios. And that's where this whole identity and self-image aspect comes into place. And that's what stemmed me on to create a course for it. So what started off as a question within a 7-day power up stemmed thinking, imagine if I could help people really create the best version of themselves, where they could say it proudly, they could believe in it, and they could take that into different situations. And in whatever situation they're in, relate the most relatable characteristic, trait, or aspect that they need to implement and be proud enough to do it. So they come away thinking, I've done exactly what I wanted to do in that scenario. I've been the best version of myself in that scenario. And that then goes back to this. And it's what I said, things happen for strange reasons. Like My mum gave me this book, and she's got an unbelievable talent of giving me books at certain times that make the biggest impacts on my life. They truly do. And this was a really interesting read, and I recommend it again because there's tools and techniques that you'll read in this that you'll think, well, I can implement that I might not be able to show you and coach you on. But there's some stuff that I'm taking out of this that I'm going to apply on myself, and then I'll be expressing it how to work on you. But what an unbelievable thing to do. And he generally went to prison for the reasons through his business politics. But how did he transition the fact that he was going to be away from his wife, away from his dogs, and locked up in a cell in one of the most dangerous prisons in the UK? And he reframed it by saying to himself, I'm going to go in to make a positive difference on as many people's lives in there, both prisoners and staff, as possible. And that gave him drive and motivation, which is phenomenal. And that's why I think that's the biggest takeaway from the book for me. It's like, whatever situation you are thrown in, like, how can you show your mission? And my mission is, again, to try and impact as many lives in a positive way as possible. So any situation I go into now, even if it's adversity, even if it's stress, like even if I'm going something that's affecting me, can I still transition that to shine a light on how I have acted and being appropriate to the best version of me, so that could then help someone else to understand? Or even in that environment, can I just verbally talk the way that diffuses and helps them understand a different opinion or a different approach, which again is a big thing. And that's something that I've grown in, which is understanding everyone's got different beliefs, everyone's got different opinions. So to when I speak to someone, if they've got a very strong opinion on something that I don't agree with, I don't snap and think, well, I disagree with actually this. I'll embed that information off them. I'll say, I understand. I might ask them questions as to why they've got that belief, but not in a negative way, just so I can understand, because you don't know what you could learn off it. And it doesn't matter if I come away having them change my belief or coming away, they might strengthen my belief. And I still don't have their same belief. I still believe mine, but I understand now why they've created that belief, and I've got more respect for them, because it's like, well, they went through X, Y, Z, they experienced this, so of course they're going to believe that, and fair play. And that's a beauty of life. If you can take that approach, there's so many more people that you will get on with. And that's what's happened to me. I've gone from a very strict or restricted social life of being around people and being able to adapt and speak and communicate in a nice way, positive way, to being able to speak to anyone realistically and just embed them as a person, embody them as a person, their beliefs and their systems, which is an amazing thing. But anyway, guys, that's the breakdown of that paragraph and that quote. And it's so powerful. So whether you want to pick this book and read it, or whether you just want to write that fucking quote down in a journal or in your phone and look at it anytime you come to a test and event. And this is what I'd ask yourself. What have you read recently? What have you listened to recently? What have you heard, watched, taken in recently that you know is going to be powerful and impactful for your life? Once you have understood it and learned it, you've got the theory. But remember, the theory does not cover the price of admission to the higher levels of growth and conscious awareness. So if you don't apply what you've learned in situations in your life, especially negative ones where you're under stress and adversity, and you don't show that theory you've learned, you haven't graduated. Because you had the opportunity to demonstrate what you'd learned, to grow, develop, to be that better version of yourself, to come away feeling proud of yourself, build your belief, build the self-esteem, build the confidence within yourself. These are all aspects that I've built within myself as well. Rock bottom self-esteem, rock bottom self-belief and confidence to where I am now. And it's because I managed to start actioning everything that I was learning and developed on it by taking action. And that's why on a lot of my posts on Instagram, the main message I probably drive out is to take action on whatever it is. Not take failure as a failure, to take it as a lesson to move on from, but to take action no matter what. Without taking action, you never know an answer, you never know a result. And it's why I've just, everything that I'm doing at the minute, I'm just going for it and putting it out there. I believe in it, I have purpose and meaning within it, but I'll go for it. So yeah, so guys, that is a bit of a rundown on that. I hope you've got something from that. Guys, I'd love it if you do have any questions. If that's not explained it in a good way and you want more examples, you want to delve into it further, please ask them. Please drop it in the community group. Please message me, because I'll be more than happy to talk through. This is just as good for me to be able to try and explain this in a way. And you might have a different take on it. You might have read that and had a different take on it and come back, well, actually, Ben, I thought about it like this. Which is the amazing thing of different perspectives and different experiences, references, and beliefs in life. So, guys, please share your thoughts and theories within that, especially with what I've just said as well. Reach out to me if you want any more information and advice on it. It's a powerful book, so I want to recommend reading. Anyone can read this, guys. Again, it's personal development. It's just helping you move forward as a person. But what a phenomenal thing for someone, like you said, to go into prison and turn it into how many lives can I impact positively. And as you read the book, he impacts a lot of people's lives positively. He still struggles. He still has difficult situations within there. He still sees some stuff that he doesn't want to see. He still tries to help people that he does help, but then suddenly it stops. But as he says, again, and that's why this guy's quite powerful for me. He's got a lot of his philosophies match mine in a way. But one of them, again, was like, you can only help someone so much. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. There's got to be that trigger point for that other person. And you can use ways to kind of reframe and help them take a different perspective and re-trigger their emotional states and mental states to get them in the position they think they want it and feel they want it and understand exactly what they want, the changes and the whys and the whats and the hows. But they're going to continue when you aren't there. And if they don't continue when you aren't there, how many times do you keep going in to try to help that person before it starts to affect you as an individual and you as a coach? And that's something that's happened to me in the past, working with people within health and fitness. And you know everything you've put into place is correct. But the person, when they're not with you, is not acting like the person they need to be to get the goal. But then it comes down to you to be blamed as the coach. So something I started to transition was I'm not taking that on board. I prefer to work with someone that wanted to change the body shape or wanted to get fitter or achieve a different level of fitness or skill for their sport. I'd prefer to work with them to start with on a mindset level. Because if I could affect their mindset and reframe their mindset to achieve the goal, they were more likely to achieve it. And by taking on these new behaviors and actions they needed to implement, rather than giving them the behaviors and actions first, but not changing their mindset and identity. So it actually created friction, which happens with so many people. So that's why for myself, even if I spoke to a coach now that was coming into the game of health and fitness, I'd say, start to research more on mindset and self-development, and you will make bigger strides forward, not only as a coach, but just within results and with your business. And I think this goes for anything in life as well. But the power of it, guys, is like this stuff here is there for you to take in, read, and then put into place. And all I'm going to do is just continue to deliver it out there as well. So if you're still part of this community, guys, again, any book I read, anything that I learn, I'll be applying it on myself. I'll be dropping it into the group. I'll be trying to manipulate it as I can to make it applicable to people, and just hopefully just keep continuing to give people tools and techniques. There's so much out there, but all I can do is give it there. I can support, I can advise, and then it's got to come down to yourself to really think, right, this is it. This is time. And like I said before, I'll finish with this one, which is don't wait until there's a big trauma, a death, a breakup, just something severe to happen, a loss of your job, a scare, a health scare. Don't wait until the worst case scenario to think, right, now I'm going to action it. Now it's time to change. If you want something right now, go and grab it right now. Prove to yourself who you are. So anyway, I'm going to wrap that there, guys. It's been good to get back on the camera again. Apologies, they've been crazy my end, but good crazy. We've got loads coming up as well. I've just dropped into the group about the Finding Focus course that we've developed, and that's about to be launched out there. But we want to offer it to everyone in the group for free. We just appreciate if you could give us a bit of a review in some way, shape, or form to help push this group up a little bit more. And again, I'm massive on the fact that I wanted to create a positive environment, a supportive environment where people just felt comfortable. They felt they were getting advice that would help them in life, but they were also in a place where they wouldn't be judged, no matter what they've done, no matter what thoughts they were having or what states they've been in. Or whether they just want to push on to achieve just some amazing things. Whatever scenario it is, B1 community was the thing that lit up to think we can create a community of just positive, supportive environment And what a beautiful place that is. And I feel I have created that, especially within the connections that I've got within Instagram. But there's only so much you can put out on that before you might start to slowly conflict and cause disruption. And then it's not the best place within social to do that. But within a controlled group, it really is. It's the opportunity to deliver just some powerful stuff that can really help transform and change people's lives. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please, again, drop a comment on the YouTube. I think you're able to do it on YouTube, or drop a comment within the community group as well. But thank you if you've watched it. As always, thanks for bearing with me. More to come. Have a great day. Enjoy the last bit of the sun before the rain comes. But when the rain comes, still capitalize on it. It's a beautiful world. Make the most of it, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.